Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching from. My name is Heather Clark. I am your host of Declutter for Change Live, and today's episode is Soul Detox, letting go of spiritual clutter to embrace joy. Good morning. I hope all are well, and happy Wednesday. Yes, happy Wednesday. So I'm sure a few people who have ever looked at the title and stuff were like, spiritual clutter. What the heck is that? What do you mean by that? Like, how? First of all, how can you have spiritual clutter? How can you, like, what is it even? Let alone, how do I clear it? How do I work about clearing this part of who I am or how I work around the world? So, spiritual clutter is basically, in a nutshell, and I'm going to go into more details, but I'm just going to give the nutshell at the beginning. Basically allowing other things, relationships, ways of working through the world to get in the way of your connection to your higher self, to your God, to spirit, to whatever your divinity is. So again, it depends on your religion, depends on this, depends on your beliefs, all that stuff. But it's what's happening in your human life that is stopping you from listening or hearing or having your spiritual life. So one of the big things is, obviously the emotional baggage, just, having that part of you that keeps thinking to yourself like, oh, forget it, never mind, okay, I can never do this, oh, forget it. And it goes in with the negative thoughts as well. It's like, why always me? Like, something bad happens, why does it always happen to me? Oh, thanks God, thanks for this, whatever, blah blah blah. And having that, feelings of negativity, can't say that word, and always thinking like, why does it always happen to me? Why can't anything good happen to me? Why is it always the bad things? And it's always focusing on those things, like the bad things, whatever, as opposed to, hey, maybe this is happening to me to put me on a different path versus the one I was going, because the one I was going is not for my highest good. And it's paying attention to those things and the understanding that, like, yeah, shit happens. Pardon my language, but it does. But what can we do and how can we connect to our higher selves, our inner selves, our intuition, and go, oh, okay, what is happening for me? Because again, that's a big quote that's going around. Life isn't happening to you, but it's happening for you. And, I do like that one because it is a matter of what is happening for you. Yes, these things in life are happening. Yes, they're, happen to you, your family, people around you, whatever, etc. But why? Why are those things happening? And it's connecting to that, and it's being able to just stop, pause, and go, okay, and sit with it and wonder and understand, and maybe, like, sit with your higher self, or sit with your God, or sit with your, the universe or the spirit, or whoever you believe in. And again, this is very, very personal. This is why I'm going to be broad about it, because it is a very personal part of the home, body, soul, and what? Body, mind. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. My four things. I can't even think about that. But anyway, see, too much going on in my mind to be able to remember what it is. But yes, and it's just a matter of getting quiet and understanding. Okay, what do I believe? What are my beliefs? What are my beliefs? Not what did I grow up and what was I told to believe in? It's clearing that stuff out that isn't yours today, right now. And can it change in a year or two? Absolutely. How many times do we have people talking about, having spiritual awakenings, or, a born whatever religion again? These things are something that happens because of probably big life experiences. Something that, maybe you got into a major accident and you've been in the hospital for however many years or for however many months or weeks or whatever, and you end up realizing like, okay, the life I was living, that wasn't me. That wasn't who I am on the inside. That's not my true calling. That's not my true self. I'm much bigger than that. Why have I allowed all of these external things to validate and to try and tell me who I am and who I believe in and what I believe in, versus sitting and having that major life event? Because when you're in the hospital for however long, etc., you kind of have time to sit with things and to whatever, because you're not doing a whole lot. You're sitting in a bed, you're contemplating life, contemplating why this happened to you, whatever, because I guarantee you that's one of those things that still will creep in, is why is this happening to me? As opposed to, okay, this did happen to me, done. Now what can I do to better my life, to better understand my connection to the universe, to myself, to my higher self, to my intuition is a big one that a lot of us really ignore. We really do. I've been trying to teach my kids, like, listen, your gut would tell you before your brain will ever understand. So please listen to your gut. Like if you're at a park and you're just, your guts, you look at somebody and your gut's saying, oh, this feels off, go home. Because I would rather you listen to your gut and be wrong than not listen to your gut and be right and something happen. And that's what I think in life in general is listening to that gut, because that gut is your higher self, is your inner soul, is your higher being, is your God, is your whatever, however you call that above yourself entity. I'm going to use entity, the word entity or spirit. And it's letting you know, like, hey, listen, this path you're on kind of needs to change. You need to change. So like even distractions like alcohol and drugs and other addictions lead you off that path. They lead you off that path and get you into a destructive path. So it's cluttering your spiritual connection. And when you start to realize that, and those who are going through rehab and are going through those kind of detox or whatever, they have that connection that is much stronger afterwards. And I've heard it again and again of anyone coming out of like drug addiction, coming out of whatever, they have a different sense of life and how it works, because they probably came very close to death or dying, or that feeling of deep down absolute life isn't worth it, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden something happens and they become clean and they become more, I usually see them become more spiritual, because they've connected now to themselves and who they are, and haven't allowed those distractions to get in the way of that connection. And that's a huge one that a lot of people talk about is obviously distractions of the alcohol, of the drugs, of the so many other things that can take your focus from it. Like let's even just talk about news. If you're somebody who I'm going to say religiously watch the news. What is the news all about? A lot of the, main broadcast is all about the negative. Oh, it's fear-based. It's going to get you further and further and further away from that connection of you, of your higher self, of what really is humanity. Humanity is good. We love, like at our core, we want to help others. If that is not the person's core, chances are they've got some sort of disconnect with their spiritual self, with their higher self, with why they're actually here. And you know what? It's okay. We all go through those moments. Like I remember me, one of my biggest memories of things that have happened that kind of were like a knock on the head, but it was like over time. So I was going through family court, divorced, et cetera, or trying to go get a divorce. And one of the biggest things was I didn't pay attention at the time, but it was I had a cleaning business, and in certain houses that I would clean or in certain places, whatever. And I'm talking like full on, move out clean. So there was nothing in the house, nothing in the cupboards, nothing, whatever. So I would clean these houses and all of a sudden there'd be a dime. And I was like, well, that's random. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I pick up the dime and I'd ask the homeowner, hey, did you left money? Or they're like, no. They're like, we cleaned it out, nothing, whatever. I was like, all right, well, cool. And then, a week later or a couple of days later, I'd be, walking down the street and there'd be a dime right on the street or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And I kid you not, that happened for many, many months. So I want to say from like May to September of, I forget the year, but I'm talking like I started picking up on it because I was like, okay, this is funny. All right, this is interesting. Like by the end of it, like I'm talking even, there was a point where I actually had said, like I tested because, we always got to do that as human beings because this can't be a spiritual thing. This can't be my higher self giving me, hey, go down this path versus that path, whatever. So I was like, all right, spirit. I was doing it very, yeah, like that because at that time, I was still very, if I don't see it, I don't believe it type of thing. So I was like, all right, if I'm supposed to do XYZ, show me a dime. Waited the day, nothing. All right, cool. Next day. If I'm not supposed to do XYZ, show me a dime. Waited the day. Well, I was like, whatever. So gave up on trying to figure it out. I was like, all right, well, this is just bogus. So I go pick up my kids. And my daughter at the time was only in, I think, either junior or senior kindergarten. And I see her fiddling around with something. And, I'm like, okay, Elizabeth, let's go get your brother, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, by the way, here. And she hands me a dime. I almost, like, I started laughing. Like, I just couldn't, I was like, oh, thank you. And of course, inside, I'm laughing because I'm like, wow, okay. Of all the things that she could have had in her hand, like, first of all, where's my little child, like my 4 or 5-year-old getting a dime? Why she even had one, whatever, but she found it, she said. And then she's like, and I had a feeling you needed this more than I did, or something like that. She said something around those lines. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. So of course I'm telling all my friends about this and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Like, nah, not even a chance. Was this just a coincidence? Because that's what we always chalk these things up to be, is just, oh, it's just a coincidence. No. It's your higher self being like, pay attention. But I, at the time, allowed so many things to clutter that connection, like the negative thoughts, because obviously I'm going through a divorce, things are happening to me versus happening for me to get me more connected to me, getting me more connected. And it has taken, and I'm still going through it. I am still doing that connection, but I'm more open to understanding what it means and to continue to, okay, that news that I'm hearing or that whatever is trying to put me in a fear-based mindset. That's not where my inner self wants to be. That's not where my life wants to be. Okay, let's shut that news off. Let's go and watch, happy puppy farm alpaca. I love alpacas. I don't know why I love alpacas, but there's something about them. But anyways, let's do something to change that negative thoughts or that fear-based, news that I just watched. And let's watch something that makes me happy, that connects me more. Because the more you connect to joy, the more you're going to connect to your inner self, your higher self, and live your life in that joyful part. And then a lot of it is, lack of mindfulness is the clutter that gets in the way, as well as, just going through the wake up, get dressed, go to work, get this, that, like just that do, and not actually being mindful about why you're doing certain things or what you're doing, or even taking that 5-minute break and just sitting in silence, or grounding ourselves outside, or getting that connection, because we all have some energetic connection to the earth, to each other, to ourselves, and not being mindful of that and not purposely connecting to that on a daily basis. And like I said, it doesn't even take, you don't have to do it for 5 hours. You can do it for 5 minutes. And even just breathing, just paying attention and being mindful of the breath that you have, of what you were even given that breath, because somebody that day didn't wake up with that breath. So being mindful of the fact that, listen, yeah, it sucks that XYZ happened to me today, but you know what? At the same time, I'm happy I got to have that experience, because this has taught me ABC. This has taught me that next time this happens, I'm going to approach it differently. And that's the biggest thing, is these are happening because it's teaching us how to move through life differently, how to move through life gearing towards our higher selves, as opposed to, paying attention to all the news and all the bad stuff and everything like that, because that's not who we are. We aren't the negative things. Yes, are some people in that thing because they're not connected to themselves. If they were truly connected to who they were at their core, I promise you there would not be as much negativity in this world as there currently is, which of course is going to change. We're getting into that spot of changing the values of what we bring, like, that things aren't bringing us as much value as the connection to the relationships. And that's a big one too, that if you have continual toxic relationships in your life, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be, personal relationships, romantic relationships, or even relationship with your own children or your own parents or whatever, that's another way that it disconnects you from your true self, from whatever, and you're allowing their toxic beliefs. And this true, like I see so many people where it's like, oh, I go to church not because I want to, but because my parents like put their belief onto me. That's not what I want. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to go to mosque. I don't want to go to wherever your family's beliefs are. I want to be home. I want to connect to the earth. I want to be more nature based or whatever. That is something you're allowed to do. Now, of course, obviously, is that going to cause friction in the family? For sure. Absolutely. But you have to be mindful of that and know and build your strength, your inner strength to say, listen, this is my journey that I want to go down. You chose your journey, but you don't get to choose mine. And the same with you, with your children, or if you have kids or whatever, is allowing them to choose their journey as they grow and giving them the options. Like, absolutely, give them the options. Like, hey, you can do this, this, this. These are the options that you can have. You get to choose, and you get to sit and be mindful of what you want to believe in, what your beliefs are, and allow them to say, like, without the judgment, without the toxic part of, that I've seen many families that as soon as you say, hey, I want to be more spiritual versus, believe in this particular God or whatever, and it becomes so like such a distant relationship and toxic relationship with that family member that it's like, no, that needs to sever right now. And if it means just for now until you find yourself and find your whatever so that you're at peace with whatever they say to you, cool. I'm not saying it has to be forever. I'm saying, yeah, no, those are the toxic relationships you want to distance yourself from. And that includes friends. That includes, friends that, let's say, they only ever want to go out drinking or they only ever want to do drugs and stuff like that. That's, again, something you got to be aware of, that, hey, is this the life I really want? Is this the disconnect that I really need right now? Or is there something that I can distance myself from these friends and be more, myself, and not go out all the time and not do these distractions or these addictive things, so that I can connect more to me and my higher self, my God, my spirit, my universe, whatever. And that's okay, because when you do that, when you separate yourself from certain people, other people will come into your life that are more on the path you want to go. So when you let go of things, and this includes the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual, when you start to let go of things, you'll be surprised at what actually comes in. But you have to let go first before you can let in anything else that is more on the path that you're going. And then just living, trust that intuition. Trust that intuition. Like I said, when it comes to like the children, I always try and like, hey, listen, trust your gut. Again, your gut's going to tell you way more and way faster than your brain will ever actually comprehend. So like, again, when you're at a party and, you're just feeling off, like as soon as you go to meet somebody and your body feels off, trust that. That's your intuition saying like, yeah, I'm going to distance myself from this person because something about their aura or their energy, my energy just doesn't line up. And that's okay. Just be like, okay, you don't have to be a dick about it, but just be cool. Be like, okay, great. Nice to meet you. Great, whatever. And if they say, hey, we want to go to this person's place, there's an after party or something like that, And again, your body's like, doesn't feel right. Listen to that, because there's something at that party. And maybe it's because it's surrounded by people who are addictive. It's surrounded by people who are drinking constantly, or there's drugs, or there's other bad behaviors, or there's other stealing, or whatever the case may be, that when you put yourself in that energy, you surround yourself with that, that's going to bring you down, and that's going to cause you to be like, yeah, okay, maybe I want to do this. And then it brings you spiraling down the addiction rabbit hole and causes you to completely be off the track that you were putting yourself on to better your life and better your connection to your higher self, your God, your spirit, your universe, whatever you choose as your, beyond you belief. And then, yeah, just being authentic to who you are. Once you figure that out, and again, this isn't going to be yes, some people might have that, what are the spiritual awakening, as they call it. I don't like that term, because it's like, it's not like I was asleep or whatever. Like, there was things that had happened, but it's that I find that people have a spiritual awakening because it's usually after a major life event, whether an accident, whether a death in the family, whether it was something that happened to them personally and they went through that awakening. But it's really just there was things beforehand that were happening that they weren't mindful about, that they weren't paying attention. Their intuition was trying to tell them. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you're not paying attention to those little details? Fine. We're going to have to do a big, massive event so that it basically does like a on your head, wake up, pay attention. You're down a path that is going to cause you so much turmoil that we have to do this today to get you off that path. That's my belief. Again, others have different beliefs. Others have, they were brought up in different ways that, certain things, maybe they don't believe that that's what a spiritual awakening is, that there is no such thing as a spiritual awakening at all, that is just whatever. Me personally, and what I'm, imploring you guys to understand is there are different ways for the same thing. There are different, just like there are different religions, just like there are different beliefs. But at the same time, it's all about connecting to your inner higher self. Regardless of who you want to talk to, whatever religion it is. Like, I grew up Roman Catholic, and I grew up with that, yes, God, it was, the ultimate. But again, it was, you didn't get connected to God until you connected to yourself. When are you connecting to yourself? Well, in prayer. You're being mindful in prayer. You have to connect to yourself first before you can get that connection to God. So regardless of what your belief is, it's all coming down to connecting more to yourself, your intuition, your energy, and what you want to do in this lifetime. And when you do those things of the distractions, the toxic relationships, the emotional negative talks and stuff like that, you're disconnecting that. You're putting clutter in the way and causing that connection to be further and further and further away. So now you have to clear those things out. And again, sometimes it can be overnight because you had an accident, a major life event, whatever. Or like some of us, it becomes something that is just over time. And then as you get more people in your life, you realize, oh, those other people that I was with, yeah, they're not where I'm wanting to go now. 5 years from now, oh, those people that were in my life for those 5 years, okay, cool. They were here for those 5 years to get me to that higher point of my life. And that's how we have to see it. And some people stay for our whole entire lives. Some people are only there for, that 1 year, that 1 month, that one event. There's a few times, actually, there was one incident that I remember it was winter, and here up in Canada, we have really bad icy roads sometimes, especially the back roads. And there was one incident that I remember. There was a gentleman that there's a curvy road, and I guess he was either going too fast or was black ice on his side or whatever. It doesn't matter. He ended up going off onto the edge into the whatever. And I just so happened, and it was funny because I remember that was the day that I decided that I was going to, or I don't know if I decided or it just happened. Anyways, that I was going to leave a little later. And of course, I was the first on the scene with this gentleman. And so he was totally like, completely like, whoa, what's going on? And I said, okay, have you called 911? What's going on? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Are you whatever? Is anyone else in the vehicle? Like, it was just one of those things. And I was there just talking to him, calming him down, because he ended up hitting a pole and it was there was electrical thing. So I'm like, okay, let's walk away. Let's get away from where it could possibly be even further. And then finally the police came, and the police officer started yelling at us and doing this. And I just looked at him and I said, you know what, sir? He just got into an accident. You think yelling at him is going to make this situation any better for him? And the police officer actually, yes, I did talk back to a police officer in a way. But again, it was being in that moment and the things that happened beforehand for me to be the first on the scene with this gentleman who was totally distraught, like totally, oh my God. And just being like, okay, because he wanted to go back into the thing. I'm like, no. There's electrical, like, we don't know if it's like down. We don't know if it's touching, whatever. I said, you can't go back. Had I not been there, had I already gone, could he have been, going back into that car and electrocuted himself and no longer be on this earth? Absolutely. Could that have been a thing? Could it, all of these things and all of these puzzle pieces, for me to be that first person, to be the one that's like, okay, logically speaking, no, you're not going to go back there. Logically speaking, we're going to go here. Whereas this gentleman, and I talked him down and I was talking to him about it, and then we got into like personal stuff, whatever, etc. And just like, hey, it's okay. This happened for whatever reason. And that accident for him could have put him on a different path than where he was going on purpose. Maybe he needed that accident to get him to realize, okay, cool, this happened. And maybe I don't know what happened. I never ended up, that was the only incident, the only interaction I had with that gentleman. But again, there was things, puzzle pieces that lined up for me to be there at that moment. And that's it. And that gentleman, I don't know what happened. There's so many different possibilities. Maybe he no longer works for that company and realized, hey, this is not what I really want to do. I don't want to be, bringing whatever he was hauling off or whatever, et cetera. It's too dangerous for me. I now want to do this. And he's listening to his own, whatever. That could have been his own spiritual thing. That was, something, again, had I not listened to myself saying, hey, maybe I don't go at this time. Maybe I'll just wait a couple minutes. And then I waited and then I went. And then I got into that exact spot. And I'm sure, I guarantee you, this has happened to so many of you where you're like, for whatever reason, you're like, oh, I'm going to go turn down this road. And it's not your typical road. It's not your typical thing. But all of a sudden you see that somebody is needing help on the side of the road and you go and help them. And there's your interaction. But you listen to that intuition. You listen to your gut feeling of, hey, I'm actually going to go down that road. Even though every day prior to, you went down that road to get to work or to get to home or whatever the case may be. But today you listened to your intuition. You went down a different route. And now you found somebody that normally, their cell phone had no more life, like the battery was dead. And so you came up and you just so happened to be there. You're full battery. You were able to call 911 or whatever the case may be, or you were able to help them get CAA, or in Canada it's CAA. So our like tow truck service and stuff like that is CAA. I don't know what it is in your country or whatever, but yeah, like there's just certain things that you've got to listen to that intuition. You got to listen to that gut feeling, because it will get you into situations that will help you and the person that you're helping, or it will also get you out of situations that could be detrimental to you or other people. And we can't listen to that when there's so much crap in the way, like the toxic, the distractions of alcohol or drugs or anything like that, the unhealthy, toxic relationships. All of those are going to be that clutter in the way. And when we clear that out, we can get closer to ourselves, our higher selves, our God, or whoever you want to call it, your spirit, your religion, or who you believe in. And that's it. It's a you thing. It's an absolute you thing. It starts with you and it ends with you. You don't get to, when you're on your deathbed and stuff like that, you're not taking all this stuff. It is you and your spirit going. That's it. So if you, in between those points, don't clear it out, you're going to get to that deathbed. And how many people have you heard, and how many books are written about, regrets on our deathbeds? And how many people are like, I really just wish I listened to myself and I didn't allow others to convince me of what I should do in my life. That's where it comes in. That's where it is. Like, it's a huge thing. I wish I allowed more joy into my life. I wish I didn't allow my parents to dictate, or my friends to dictate, or my husband or wife or children or whatever, etc., to dictate what I wanted to do in my life. Those are usually the regrets. It's not, oh, I really wish that, I got the green car instead of the blue car. Never, ever, ever have I heard in those books or read in those books or heard podcasts say that people regretted stuff. If anything, they regret buying too much stuff and making it about stuff and not more about the people and the relationships in their lives. And that's where that connection, that clearing out the spiritual stuff, clearing out the negative thoughts, being mindful so that you can have that connection, so you can understand, oh yeah, no, it's not about the stuff. It's about the people. It's about the relationships I have in this life, whether it's to myself, to the people around me, to my family, whatever. That's what it's all about. That's what this life is all about. It's about getting closer and learning the lessons and understanding that, yeah, these are lessons trying to teach us, not, oh, wow, poor me. Why me? It's always about me. Why is all this stuff happen to me? Because I can tell you, I was that person too, back in my late teens, early 20s. I absolutely had those thoughts. And I had those, oh, why is this happening to me? Why does this have to happen to me? Why is it always me? Why, whatever. Let go of that. That's where you want to let go of, is it. Why you? Because you're strong enough. You can handle this. You're going to pay attention to the lessons in it. That's why you. That's why these major life events happen to you, so that you can go through them, because you're strong, because you then can help others that are a step behind you and be able to help them, pull them through these situations and get them to a point where they are listening also to their own inner self, their inner, like their intuition, and listening to their higher self and going, okay, cool. I'm on a path where I'm not happy. I want to be on a path where I feel the joy, where I am happy, where I can get to a point where I thank God, or I thank the universe, I thank myself that this did happen to me, because it got me to this situation. And you get to have more joyful experiences. And then you get to say, oh, why me? Because I'm listening, because I've cleared out things that no longer fit where I'm going. And then the why me becomes more joyful. Why me? And you understand that, yeah, no, this is cool. I enjoy this part of life. So I'm going to continue this part of life. I don't want to listen to news anymore, because that news is only fear-based. It only brings me, more anxiety, more depression, more whatever. Those aren't the paths. Joy, happiness, and like just love is where we're going towards. And that's, on your deathbed, that's where we all want. We just want to be able to say, yeah, I loved with everything I could. I was joyful with every ounce of my body. I was able to be that person that I can now say, I'm happy. I can move on. So that basically is today's soul part of it, where, it's a spiritual clutter and cleaning it out and clearing it out, so that you can be more you, connection to your higher God, spirit, whatever your beliefs are, and just being able to understand that things aren't just happening to you. They're happening to everyone on this planet. Things are happening to everybody, and there's a reason for it. You just have to understand and have to look through what that reasoning is. And then you have to understand that it's to connect you to you. And yeah, and that is all for today. So the next episode is going to be it's all about the physical clutter. That's what it is. Okay. All about the physical clutter. And obviously the physical clutter, that is going to be, and there's a reason why it's the last one, is that's going to be obviously the main reason why people want to clear the clutter, is for the physical stuff. So that will end up being the last one of this 4-part series that I'm doing. And then we go, and that will be Wednesday, August 16th at 10 a.m. EDT. And yeah, and then after that, we go into more specifics on the physical stuff, and then we'll go back and forth, because obviously I gave you the last 3 episodes, and then this episode plus the last two, and then the next one is just the broad part of things, just so that you can get an introduction to what I mean when I say mind, body, soul, home. That's the one. Okay, sorry. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm having a brain gap of why I didn't think of home earlier. But anyways, so mind, body, soul, and home. Those are the 4 parts in this series. Those are the 4 parts in my like business type thing. And for whatever reason, my brain just wasn't thinking about it because obviously there was mind clutter. That was the other episodes beforehand. So if you want to look up at that and how to clear that. But yeah, so next one is going to be at the home, which is the physical clutter and clearing that out. And again, this is an episode that it's not going to obviously go into like major details. I'm going to give you the broad way of starting, continuing, and then maintaining the physical clutter and how to clear that out as well. Even though like obviously I'm going to go into more details after that episode, but we'll talk about that later. So enjoy your Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to all, or happy Thursday if you are watching overseas or anything like that, or down in Australia or New Zealand or anything like that. You're obviously ahead of us. Yeah, take care and have a wonderful day.